What's up, everyone? I'm Shafi Malik, and you're listening to Who Dropped the Popcorn podcast. The premise is simple. One of us picks a film that we know the others haven't seen. We all watch it, and we come here to discuss it. Joining us tonight is Dave McHugh.
Hello. Hello, Marky Mark.
Andy Newlands.
They told me pum-pum-pum-pum, a newborn king to see pum-pum-pum-pum. Our finest gifts we bring pum-pum-pum-pum.
It's quite a sudden ending. And Kyle Hammond.
Shafi don't like it. Do. Mortal Kombat. Shafi don't like it.
And we have a very special guest with us tonight. The fifth member of our Beatles, the Dog Tanyan to our Musker Hounds, the Scrappy Doo to our Scooby Doo, all the way from Singapore. It's the one and only Marco Hanlon.
Monsieur, with these Rocher, you're really spoiling us. Greetings, everyone.
Good.
Honoured to join the team and to be a special guest on this New Year special.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, it's the New Year special that's taken place on the 4th of January. But
gets released on February the 16th.
So, Mark, as we explained in the previous episode, but if you haven't heard that, Mark is basically the fifth member of our group. And when we first started the podcast, we asked him if he wanted to join us, but he had just had a young little man in his life. So he's actually come to visit us here in Jersey, even though he lives in Singapore. Mark, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, great, thank you. Obviously delighted to join you guys on the call today. It's been great to be back home. I've known, obviously, you guys for 35 years for some of you, and probably about 30 years or around that kind of time for everyone else. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, good old friends.
Well, that's weird because we're all 25, so those maths sound right.
You live in Singapore.
Yeah.
How often do you watch films while you live there? Is it like do you have a cinema quite close to you? Is it something you regularly do? Or is it now that you've got a child, it's something that's quite difficult for you to do?
Yeah, I think the last 2 years since having a baby boy, it's been quite difficult to do, but there's loads of choice in cinemas in Singapore, all really nearby, all late opening, and all very cheap compared to the UK.
Nice.
So there's a lot of, and also you get some kind of more rare for you guys, I guess, Asian films that would be released that you wouldn't get released in the UK, probably in main cinemas.
Shafi forces us to watch them anyway, so we see them all.
So yeah, it's a great place to watch films. Obviously, you've got a lot of choice on the streaming sites as well, including the Asian ones.
Nice.
So regarding the release schedules, are they sort of in sync with when Western countries get theirs, or
mostly same? Some can be before, some can be after you guys.
Right. Okay.
But I'd say definitely, last 2 years I haven't watched that many films. I would say I definitely watched a lot more, particularly in IMAX before having my first child.
Nice. Right. What I've done is just sort of like an icebreaker. I've basically put some questions together, and
yes.
I've ripped this off another podcast. It's Brett Goldstein's Movies to Be Buried With. So if Brett Goldstein listens to this and wants to sue us, I apologize. This comes from a place of love. It's one of the best movie podcasts out there, so I'd recommend you to listen to it. Okay, so Mark, what is the first film you remember seeing?
So the first film I remember seeing is Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, because my grandparents made me watch it when I was a kid, because after school they used to babysit me before my parents picked me up. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's 1954 film.
Dave thinks it's beautiful.
US film.
I reckon by Stanley Donham.
Andy's gonna love it. Andy sounds already excited to watch
It's a bit too modern for me, but it'll do.
Have you seen it recently?
No, I haven't seen it recently. But last time I saw it was probably in the 80s. It was on, my grandparents had it on VHS.
That's all right. Name a film that made you cry.
Mark doesn't cry. Next question.
I've said Forrest Gump here. I think there was a couple of moments in Forrest Gump that made me cry.
We watched that with you. We don't remember. We don't remember you crying. We watched that with you.
It doesn't show emotion
really?
at the time.
Was that when Nixon pinched his ass?
I can't remember all the moments, but I think when Lieutenant Dan losing his legs and all that. I don't know. There's other sad bits I remember.
When he says is he smart? And then she's like, yeah, he's smart. That killed me, that bit.
Name a film that genuinely scared you.
I went for The Exorcist with this one because I just thought some horror films can make you jump. I think there was something really weird about The Exorcist that made it a bit of a freaky, scary film.
You legend.
When did you first watch that?
I think I probably watched it in the early 2000s, I think.
Wow.
All right, quite late then.
Shafi watched it when he was 7.
yeah, that's the sort of childhood I was raised up on.
Before that, I think Michael Jackson's Thriller was the first thing that scared me. I think
that made us all shut up.
The long version.
With his eyes at the end where he goes, I used to hide behind the settee.
What's the film you think you've seen the most amount of times?
And don't laugh, but I think I've seen Commando.
Oh yeah,
the amount most of the times.
Nice.
Because I've got it on DVD, and I reckon I've watched that so many times. It's just so easy to put on.
Yeah,
even if you've just got it in the background.
Is it a favourite of Denise's as well? Or?
No, I don't think she's ever seen it. I don't think I'd ever put her through that. I think
Resort Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So
Denise is my wife, by the way.
Yes, yeah. Please. Well done, Mark. You're really on board with like talking to listeners. Yeah, it's very good.
If you're watching Commando, just notice that when they kind of burst into the room after you eat too much red meat, you'll notice they're kind of having sex, but the girl is actually behind the guy. Ooh, yeah. The best way to it.
Really?
Good time. Yeah.
Full on pegging.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, no wonder Mark's like, fucking, I'll watch it every day.
Well, yeah, maybe it's best you don't show it to Denise then.
Yeah.
But yeah. Ooh, yeah.
What's a film? What's a film you used to like but now dislike?
I find this a tough question actually, but I went for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Ooh.
I think when I first saw that, I thought it was great, and then when I watched it again, I thought, just don't really like this film anymore. I just don't rate it. I don't know why.
What's put you off it? What is it about?
I don't know. I just when I watched it again, I just thought this is a nothing film. I just didn't do anything for me. But I can't put my finger on why that is.
Okay.
I feel the same way about Showgirls.
Why don't you like Showgirls anymore?
When I first saw it, I was like, this is absolutely amazing. And then you watch it again, you're like, this is the worst film I've ever seen.
After you've made a mess, you're like, actually, this film's not very good.
I suddenly wasn't interested 15 minutes after turning it on.
What's a film you used to dislike but now you like?
Blade Runner. So
Wow.
I think the first couple of times when I watched Blade Runner, I probably was just too young to get it, or I just didn't appreciate it. But then that's a film that I rate now, which I didn't rate the first couple of times I saw it.
I think a lot of people watch it expecting a mad action film of like Terminator style, but it's not. It's, legend, Mark. The more I liked it the first time I watched it, but I was a little bit disappointed. But it just gets better and better every time I watch it. I must have 15 times now, and I just love it more with every watch.
I said in the June episode that can't get on with it, me. Maybe I need to watch it some more. I think I've watched it 3 times, but
honestly, Kyle, give it
It's
another
not for
go.
me.
It's so good.
I'm the same.
Mark, what is the sexiest film?
I went for Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, yes, mate.
Because I think Jessica Rabbit was so sexy in the film.
Wow.
Yeah.
I decided that was it.
Can I just say, she's in it for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. So
Perfect.
what were you doing for the rest of the film? What were you doing for the rest of the film?
Having a wank over Bob Hoskins.
refractionary period.
Rewinding it. I don't know.
Can I just say something about Who Framed Roger Rabbit is that if you viewers, if you're listening to this, if you look up like Who Framed Roger Rabbit B-roll, it's basically you see the film without the special effects and without them adding the cartoons on top of Bob Hoskins and all the live action actors, and it looks like the most insane thing. And it's only then you realize how good Bob Hoskins is.
Oh
Yeah.
He's basically talking to a toy throughout the whole filming of that film.
That's
So
what Bruce
it's,
Willis does as well, just on a green screen talking to a tennis ball. And then everyone else has to do it around. Honestly, that's how he rolls now.
What is objectively the best film ever made? So what's like a film that everyone says is the greatest film ever made, and you're sort of like, you kind of nod and go, yeah, actually I agree, that is one of the best films ever made.
I would say The Godfather.
Nice.
But I'm not a huge fan of it, but I can see why people would say that's the best film ever made.
Nice. Okay.
Whether it's an argument of number 1, number 2.
Okay. And what's the funniest film? Film makes you laugh the most.
I went for Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolo.
Yes.
Just because there are so many great one-liners and scenes in that film.
Amy Poehler is amazing in that film, man.
I think that's the funniest film.
Final question. If you were to screen a film in heaven, what would it be? So basically, with every inhabitant of heaven, they give them a night to screen their own film. And tonight is your night in heaven. So they're going to say, Mark, we want you to screen any film of your choice. So what would you choose?
Truman Show. Because number one, I've always been a fan of that film, but then I also thought it would be quite ironic that the Truman Show is about someone trapped in a reality and there's nothing outside of it. And then so some people might think, well, that's a bit like maybe they don't think there is a heaven, and then it turns out to be there is one. So that's what I'd go with.
As Mark is our special guest tonight, we've given him the privilege of choosing our film for this episode. Mark has chosen 2020's Sound of Metal, written by Abram and Darius Marder and directed by Darius Marder. The film centers around Reuben Stone, a drummer of a metal band who suffers from permanent hearing loss. He tries to readjust his life and settle in the deaf community. Mark, why did you choose this film?
I chose this film because obviously it won an Academy Award. The title intrigued me, and also the photo on the streaming service I was using to watch it. So, and also, I guess mistakenly, I didn't know the premise of the film, so I didn't know anything about it before I watched it, and I assumed it would be, a similar ilk to Whiplash, just by the title and the photo of the film. But obviously, it's completely not akin to Whiplash at all.
No, it was nothing like I expected as well.
By the way, Mark, this is a film that I would say is probably my favourite film that I saw last year, even though it was released in 2020. So I'm glad you picked this film. Over to you, Andy. Care to recap this film, please?
Hey, 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 what's that you say? It's Andy's articulate analysis.
Sorry?
Oh my God. I did that joke last week and I edited it out.
That was classic. That's a classic joke. All right. So this drummer, and he performs in this like avant-garde metal duo called Black Gammon with his singer girlfriend Lou. And they live in this RV, and they, this is their thing. They tour the States, and their music's pretty crazy, like, I don't know, not heavy metal, but sort of loud, fucking crazy music. And on one of the gigs, he starts to notice that he's like losing his hearing a bit, and then basically very early on in the film it becomes clear that he's going deaf. So he's like, holy shit, like he has to deal with that, obviously. So he tells his girlfriend, then it becomes apparent he's like used to be a heroin addict amongst an addicts to other things. So he wants to continue playing in the band. But Lou's like, no, we can't do this. She's a bit concerned about him possibly slipping back into his addictive ways. So she manages to get him into this, I don't know what you'd call it, like sobriety shelter, I guess.
Well, it's rehab.
And it's basically he goes there and it's for deaf individuals, like the deaf community. And he meets the leader of the place, says that he has to stay. Lou can't stay, and the leader makes it really clear that this place that he's going to isn't really about solving his hearing problems. It's about coming to terms with it and learning how to be, his new self, and how to become integrated into the deaf community, etc. I won't go into this too much, but on top of this, there's, I guess you could say, like a spiritual element into it. The very early on into the conversation with the chap, he talks about the church, and Reuben and his girlfriend make it really clear they're not religious, but the guy makes it really clear that that doesn't matter. The church is there to help people. So he's there and he's helping kids, and he's coming to terms with his deafness, but also not coming to terms with his deafness as well. So on the one hand, you've got the community who are trying to help him move forward in his new life, but he's just obsessed with getting his hearing back and getting back to his old life. That's his key focus, despite having opportunities in front of him that he perhaps doesn't quite see clearly at the time. So he sells the RV that he was traveling around and his music equipment, and he has an operation to put implants in his head. The operation doesn't go as well as he'd hoped, so he gets some hearing back, but it's very tinny, very static. And he's disappointed with that. He then leaves the deaf community to go back and finds Lou, and the relationship they kind of realize very quickly that it's run its course. She's kind of moved on a bit. He realizes that they've gone as far as they can as a couple, and that ends. And then he just goes off into the world on his own. And at the end of the film, he's outside a church, and he takes the hearing aids off, and he is just in stillness. And it harks back to a phrase that the chap who ran the deaf community said at the beginning, where he was trying to get Reuben to sit in a room and find the kingdom of God through quietness and stillness. The film ends, but it is a brilliant film, and I haven't done it justice there.
There was more religious stuff than I realised.
Yeah,
I didn't think there was anything really, other than the church offering to pay for hearing stuff. I didn't really notice much.
Well, maybe this isn't the time, but I took huge amounts of religious quotes and experiences and opportunities from this film. So yeah, man, that's my view on this film, and I'll talk a little bit more later on once you guys have.
Dave, you just said that this wasn't the film that you were expecting it to be. So, what film were you expecting it to be, and what how did it change your expectations?
It's sort of back to my obsession with not watching trailers and not really reading too much. Whereas I should go back to just reading the blurb on the back of a VHS in Blockbusters before I rent it. But yeah, no, I don't know, because on Amazon it says like violence, sex, nudity. So I was like, yeah, this sounds great. And it's not like that at all. Where the hell is the sex, violence, and nudity? There's moments where he loses his shit, but this is quite a beautiful film, and especially when he's like with the sort of younger generation who are in the hearing classes, etc. It's a really warming film. So I didn't expect it to be quite so heartwarming.
Yeah. How about, because Mark, you said the same thing, that this film wasn't what you expected it to be. So did it turn your expectations in a good way, or what?
Yeah, I didn't read anything about the film before I watched it. I would say I didn't find it, obviously I expected more excitement because of the title, etc. I found it quite a slow moving film. Not much. Well, I don't think there was much of a score, so there wasn't that much excitement going on throughout the film. But
no tits,
totally
no guns. Yeah,
got it. No ass.
Can I just say one anecdote, please? There's one viewing of a film that I distinctly remember, and it was the day I proposed to Liza, and then I proposed to her and all that stuff, and then I went to meet up with Mark that evening, and me and Mark watched Moon together. And Moon is about this astronaut that lives by himself on the moon, and and then he kind of uncovers what's going on, all that stuff. And then
we're all married men want to be.
That's probably one of my favorite films. One of my favorite sci-fi films. And then so when I kind of left the cinema, I was like really enthusiastic about it. I was like, "Oh, Mark, that was a really good film." And he was like, "Yeah, it was all right." And I go, "What didn't you like about it?" And he goes, "Not enough tits and guns."
I know, that was.
Is that how you're summarizing this film?
Yeah, never a true word said.
What film has Mark watched more than anything? Commando.
Kyle, you've said in a previous episode that you used to be in a band, and it's sort of it's damaged your hearing. So could you tell us about that? Tell the viewers about that experience, and
just tinnitus really. So wouldn't say my head. Yeah, it's probably slightly quieter, but that might just be aging. You don't know. But yeah, so go to this film, the very end scene where he takes the implants out and he's just sat in dead silence. My ears then were just going.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I was watching it late at night, so it only doesn't happen during the day. It's only really like at night when I'm tired. So yeah,
just Baby Driver here.
Yeah, so it was just.
So it's constantly like a ringing in your ear.
No, it's only kind of late at night when we're in bed. It's quite annoying. Yeah,
less background noise.
Yeah.
So is that something you noticed as you were in the band, or was it just?
No, it's only been the last probably like 6 months before COVID started. So that's 2.5, 3 years maybe.
Holy shitballs.
This is going to sound like a really dumb question, but is there like a particular part of the music that's probably caused the damage, or?
Yeah, I think so. So we used to rehearse in a tiny basement. And it's funny because it's not ideal because you'd leave all your gear there and you'd come back and it'd like be wet. It's like obviously the condensation, and then you're plugging it in. You're like, should we be playing this equipment while it's wet? Anyway, yeah, the singer used to hit certain notes. It used to make my eardrum like wobble. Like, oh god,
the singer.
Yeah, he used to like because you'd obviously got your monitors and stuff. He'd hit a certain frequency, just caused my ears just to go fucking.
Jeez, that's mad, man.
Yeah.
I once got my life's pretty rock and roll. I once got a little overzealous with a cotton tip and pushed it too far. And sometimes I do get a bit of a ringing in my.
Where did you push it up though?
Dave probably did it in my mum's house because every time he comes to my mum's house, he comes and he gets the cotton buds out. First thing, starts cleaning his ears.
I can imagine you just there at the front door, wait with a box of them, going, "Here you go, Dave."
Yeah, it's true, right, Dave?
Yeah, that's being a strange part. I wasn't allowed cotton buds; they were considered too dangerous in my household. I think that's why I sort of overdid it. You know, like when your parents tell you not to do something, you're like, I'm like fucking. Now that I'm an adult, I'm going to fucking use 2 at a time. And I kind of permanently damaged my ears. So maybe Mumsy was right. Viewers, listen to your mum, no matter how old you are.
Okay, anyway. So
we have a drummer amongst our ranks, Shafi. Did you know
that? Dave,
yeah.
Well, yeah.
How long were you drumming for?
I can just about play a snare drum, just year 7. It was so stupid. Like, again, a life decision that I would. So first I signed up to play the saxophone, which would have been quite cool. I was like, yeah, saxophone. And then I was like, no.
Mate, you could now be the guy from Lost Boys.
Oh my
What's
God,
he called?
God knows. Just Mr. 80s. That's all you need to know. Mr. 80s viewers, please listen to the saxophone song from the Lost Boys.
I Still Believe it's called or something.
Yeah.
Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah. Oh, the opening. Honestly, just when you're driving to work, just do some cocaine and listen to that and you're going to have a good day at work. Oh, mate.
That's it. Tim Capello, I Still Believe.
Okay, so back to you, Andy.
Hello,
back
everybody.
to the film. Back to the film.
What do you think this film was about then? What's your take on it?
I think it was about a man's opportunity to get closer to the kingdom of God and a resurrection. And I think it was about his, let's say it like this, his first life was just disorientating. He didn't really know what he was doing, where he was going. And he was given an opportunity. I don't know if you noticed this, but in the film, I only saw the character of Reuben smile or laugh or really, really seem like he was enjoying himself once. And it was when he was outside in the field playing and teaching the children.
Yeah.
And the rest of the film, even though he was following his dream, let's say, touring with the RV, being with Lou, playing the drums, etc., he never really looked like he was enjoying anything. And I know that's part of an addict personality, but I think it's about resurrection and creating a new self. Like that bit at the end for me seemed, the fact he was outside of a church and all the disorienting noise going on around him, and he just stopped, and it seemed like he just accepted his fate, and he just sat there in the present, in the stillness. And that links back to the gentleman who was running that centre when he said, have you ever, when he was in the, that bit where he was going to the room every day and he was told to just sit in a room and write, that I guess was a tool to connect. I might be wrong.
What Andy was saying was that, so Joe gives Reuben a task to do every day. And he says, okay, you wake up early in the morning, don't you? He says, yes. And he says, okay, so when you wake up early in the morning, you go into this room, we're going to give you coffee. And he says, I just want you to sit. I just want you to sit, okay? And if there might be a moment where you can't sit still, so when you do that, you start writing, not drawing, but writing. And then if you can't even take that, then come and see me. That's what he says.
I don't see how the film is anything other than this, because the character of Joe is central to this. As you say, the tasks that he's done, and even when Reuben's fixing the house, he's like, you don't need to fix anything here. He's like,
yeah, you're just deflecting from your problems.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to sort out your inner mind. And then I wrote loads and loads of phrases down from the film where he's talking about the world keeps moving, it could be a damn cool place, He keeps going back to the kingdom of God, and that place will never abandon you. But Reuben, like, I found it quite hard to.
God? Did I just completely miss those lines then?
No, I don't think he only mentions God until that particular line.
I found it was the third part, because when they got to the center, it was they were immediately talking about, it was really obvious, like it was not like a cult, but it was very clear that there were religious, like the leaders of this place were from the church. The church was very involved in it. That's how I took it, because Joe seemed to be a kind of spiritual guide to Reuben.
Well, if I may, do you know who he actually reminds me of in both his look? He actually reminded me of Russell Means.
I've no idea who that is.
If that's not crazy, he really reminded me of Russell Means in everything.
Who's Russell Means?
It's Chingachgook.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also thought he had some kind of Native American resemblance to him, and also I thought he was something like almost like shaman, like
the way he spoke and stuff. I really,
it's his voice,
his character. Yeah,
his accent.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Dave.
I was blown away, honestly.
Paul Raci, his name. Yeah, he was nominated for an Oscar, wasn't he, for his performance?
He was nominated for an Oscar. He actually was raised up by two deaf parents. So his first language was ASL. Yeah, he can hear.
Wow.
His first language as a kid was ASL. Does anyone have any sort of opposing opinions to Andy about what the film means?
Yeah, I don't think it's about Christ and stuff at all, man. I think it's more about his identity. So the issue I had was that the character of Joe kind of linked his hearing to his addictions. And then at the end where he says, I want to get my hearing back, he's like, you just sound like an addict to me. And I was like, no, the guy just wants to get his hearing back. It doesn't mean if he gets his hearing back, he's all of a sudden going to go back on the smack. I just thought that scene, I was a bit, I don't get what's happening here.
It's not addicted. It's not addicted to hearing. It just sounds like something that you think you want in life, but you don't actually need.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of the deaf community, the deaf community, do not see it as a disability at all.
Yeah.
So I think they're just like, of course. But I think they're just very much like,
oh yeah,
you don't need it. So why would you go and get it?
So a little behind the scenes nugget for you guys, that the writer director said that he did like huge pages, like lots and lots of pages of every character, and he said that the character of Joe was actually previously an addict. So I think the fact he sort of recognizes straight away when he first meets Reuben, he says, "Are you an addict?" He knows how addicts behave. So the fact that when he comes back to him and sits at a table with him, he recognizes that behavior straight away. So you think it's about identity.
that guy was amazing.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
And that's such a sort of powerful scene when you can see like it's breaking Joe's heart to like tell him that he needs to pack up his stuff and go. How about you, Mark? Are you sort of siding with anyone, or do you have your own sort of thoughts about? I mean, one thing just before I sort of go to Mark, these are the types of films I love where you can watch a film and it's not necessarily that Andy's sort of take on it is wrong and Kyle's taking it as wrong, but you can watch a film and it depends on the person you are. You're going to kind of take away your own interpretation of it, and I love films like that. It's like what Jellicatu. We kind of looked at the film sort of in that different perspectives, and I love films like this where you kind of hear something from someone, you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
See, it's interesting that because just before we go to Mark, when I was, I know we're all at De La Selva, I was fortunate enough to go away with the Lazalian brothers on a trip to Africa, and we were in a group of about 12 of us, and it was run by one of the brothers, and it was the only time ever where we'd be sitting after a day doing whatever we were doing, sat in a group of 10, 12 people in the complete silence of the night, and conversation, goes from A to B to C, and then it comes down to spirituality. So it might be my own experiences of being in a group like this, in a situation kind of like this, that's made me kind of formulate my thoughts on it. Oh, sorry. And then I watched Star Wars for 10 years and became a lunatic. Anyway, over to Mark.
No, thanks, Andy. What about you, Mark? Do you like side with anyone's opinion, or have you got your own take on it?
I didn't see that much hidden meaning in the film. I more took away from my side. For me, the film, to me, it meant more about dealing with mental health, to be honest, than anything else. So, and like anxiety, because it was, I don't know, there was a lot of, he was obviously at peace at the end once he'd taken off the cochlear implants.
Yeah.
But before then, he seemed very skittish and anxious about everything throughout the film.
And the girlfriend did as well, didn't she? Which they made reference to.
Yes, that's like a theme of the film, I think, is probably codependency, right?
Yeah.
And which is part of why he wants to fix the hearing. He wants to get the band back, is to sort of be with her because that's sort of like another crutch for him.
Yeah, I completely agreed. And yeah, obviously it was a huge contrast between after he had the implants, the noise that was coming through, like just street noise, traffic noise causes huge anxiety, and then how much at peace he was without that. And then maybe some of the anxiety at the start of the film was because obviously he was an addict, but I think he'd been driving, I think he said, for 4 years, but he seemed very anxious and skittish, like he was having withdrawal symptoms throughout the whole film, apart from in those kind of parts where he's at peace. So for me, it was more around mental health and also kind of appreciation of, if you did lose your hearing and you were a musician, how devastating that would be. I also felt I was so gutted for him after he had the implants, and then he went to see the doctor and he switched it on, and how rubbish it was. I was like, my God, this is why I was so gutted for him.
That is a myth, though. So, yeah, I did a bit of research. They don't sound as bad as that in real life. It doesn't sound 100% correct.
I heard it's different for different people. That's what I've heard.
People that have got hearing in one ear and not the other, they can compare the two and they say, it's not quite right, but it's nowhere near as bad as what this film makes out. But, it's artistic license and stuff. But I was once in a supermarket and there's a woman in the queue in front of me who had the implants.
Wow.
And it fell out and just completely smashed on the floor.
Oh, no.
I was just like staring, going, "Holy fuck! What the fuck is going on?" But I had to laugh because she was just like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
someone pushed a button. Clean it to aisle 5. Clean it to aisle 5.
But she just picked it up, put it in her pocket, and thought, "NHS will sort this. It's all right."
What did you think, Shaf? What's your take on it?
Well, I'm sort of in agreement with everyone in the fact that I think, for me, like this film spoke to me because I think something I sort of struggle with is mindfulness. Yeah, I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with that concept, but it feels like if I'm not with Liza and the kids, it feels like every other minute I've got my sort of headphones on and I'm trying to have some sort of background noise against what I'm doing. Sometimes I think it is, and going into this year 2022, I think I want to try and do that. I want to try and sort of be more mindful and sort of take in the surroundings. Take in that's the thing, because that we're filled with distractions, and even we're carrying around a big distraction, and we carry our phone. Also when you're on your phone, there are other apps that would distract you from what you want to do on the phone.
Yeah. I don't like the conscious decision that I make to not look at my phone. So even that I feel like is disrupting it. I'd rather it wasn't even in my pocket, if you know what I mean.
But the thing is that that's the thing. I've always got a noise, something that's sort of in my head, and to rather than sort of just focus and just be, and sort of just be alone with my own thoughts. I struggle to do that sometimes.
Jen always comes down and I'll be lying in a pitch black room just staring at the ceiling, and she'll be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" As if I'm insane. Well, I think that's a great practice.
That's meditation though. That's meditation though, isn't it?
I know. Yeah.
And that's the thing. That actually is something that they say actually is one of those things that beats anxiety, and is something that helps you. Well, not beats it, but it helps you manage your anxiety.
Shafi, seriously, man, just go and sit in Howard Davis Park. You are a stone throw away from Howard Davis Park. Just go and sit there by the water fountain and sit there and don't do anything, and you'll have this moment, because I do it, and you'll have this moment where are people going to think I'm a bit weird for just sitting here doing nothing? Why isn't he on his phone answering emails, listening to a podcast whilst watching Netflix? Just go there without your phone and sit there by the fountain in the garden bit and do nothing for half an hour.
Don't take 12 cans of breeder, though, because that defeats the point.
And talk to some tramps.
One of the only times that I don't look at my phone is when I'm like outdoors.
Yeah.
When I'm outdoors, I just don't get the urge to look at my phone. It's weird. And Laura's always going, "You're not taking any photos." It's like, I forgot I had my phone.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm at work at home, I'm like, do a bit of work for 5 minutes. Oh, I'll just look at my phone.
Yeah, that's cheeky.
Yeah.
That's just, yeah, it's a little bit cheeky.
But yeah, I think, you know, it's sort of like, you know, and I'm not sort of comparing myself to an addict, or maybe I am, but I understand that there may be a fear of just being alone, like without any noise, if you get what I mean, as in it's just your own thoughts. And that's what my sort of take of it is, that he, you know, he's an addict. He, you know, there's a film called Thumbsucker, where what he does is this kid who's trying to get over the addiction of sucking his thumb. So what he does, he tries to like take up different habits in order to kind of get rid of that habit, you know, and in a way this
just drinks and does smack. Yeah.
So the thing is that, you know, from my sort of take on this is that he's an addict. He joined a metal band, and he's in this sort of codependent relationship because he wants to just fill his life, his head, with noise. And, you know, what this film for me isn't really about, you know, becoming deaf. It's about being sort of stripped away of all the things that are sort of external, and just sort of being as internal as possible. So that's my take.
Mate, Mark, Shafi, before you got on, we were actually talking about just how you take it to the next level. And may I congratulate you
just gone 10 levels
again.
up, mate. 10 levels.
Well, anyway, that's my take on it. But I
you
know,
can't praise Shafi as you're taking a piss, Dave. Dave was just praising you whilst holding his knob and having a piss. Listen back to that. He literally got his knob out and went, "Oh, Shafi,
Dave does that all the
to the
time.
next
Every
level."
every time, that's the only way he can take a piss, is he says my name out loud.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Fucking hell. That is outrageous. Right, we need to tell a few jokes. It's gone to...
No, Shafi,
Sorry.
you always bring it down.
Sorry,
that was
I'm
great.
sorry.
That was the best
Sorry
bit of the podcast.
Are there any other roles by Riz Ahmed that anyone wants to sort of shout out or anything like that?
Robert Dingy Rappins, brother.
Yes, Four Lions. Yeah.
That is the best film ever.
Filmed
You
in the
look
mean
confused,
streets of
brother.
Sheffield, mate, yeah.
You look confused, brother.
We'll bomb the mosque. What? What?
Outrageous.
You
Right, we need to
fucking
edit
mad? Are you fucking mad?
56 to 58.
So what is he, lads? Is he a person, or is he a fucking Zalfrazy?
I just love the bravery of making a film like that. It's just so good. What are you going to write a comedy about? Kind of extremism. It's just only. Oh my god, I forgot his name. What's his name?
You mean Chris Morris?
Yeah, I like. Who else is going to write that? With that, it's just genius. Chris Morris, just take a bow, mate. Take a bow.
I love how the London Marathon is round Attercliff in Sheffield, which is like the red light district of Sheffield, but they're like just casting it off as London for the London Marathon.
I know it well, Carl. I know it well.
What did you think of his drumming performance in the film, Kyle?
So he actually learned sign language, didn't he? Like, obviously not like I'm guessing he's learned as much as he could, and he did learn some drumming. You can tell because you can tell when someone's really doing it and not, because when he's hitting the drum, you can see it syncing up with the sound. Interesting point is he plays left-handed as well, and then when he's doing his writing later on, he's writing his left hand. So
yeah, I know
obviously
that as
left-handed.
well.
Yeah,
That kind of, it's just so difficult, isn't it?
Olivia Cook did all the vocals, and she actually learned like guitar and the distortion pedals and everything as well.
Oh, cool.
So that's actually a live performance from them.
He learned a lot of his rhythm from Matt Damon in Jason Bourne. So I just want to shout out to Matt Damon.
Did he?
He's in Jason Bourne, isn't he?
Goddamn right.
How about you, Mark? How sort of familiar are you with Riz Ahmed?
I don't think I've seen him in any other films. I don't think I've seen anything he's been in. Well, what else has he been in?
So yeah, can I do my Riz Ahmed, like kind of go off on one where I tell you about how when I first discovered him and that I've been following his career. Yeah, he's a rapper as well. His rap name is Riz MC, and he's also an Oxford graduate as well.
Oh, wow.
But
Can I do the song intro for this then?
Okay.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Jizz about Riz. Let's jizz about Riz. It's time for Shafi to jizz about Riz.
Yes.
Gary Neville.
And Carl, you do some music. Gary Neville. All right.
Why does Shafi get to do this and not any of us? This is
Well,
kind
because
of weird.
because
we're all
I've just
idiots.
asked you guys, and you go, one of you said 4 lions.
Mark doesn't know who he is, and I just looked him up on Google.
So,
That's fucking why.
I don't know. It just kind of seems weird that it feels wwrong that Shafi's doing it. I feel like
Are
it
you
should be
being
one of us.
racist? What's the
No,
problem? What's the fucking big deal?
I'm trying to be woke. I'm trying to be woke.
Don't say woke, Dave, for fuck's sake.
It just seems wrong that we're like, that we're
Why are you
like.
getting so
thought
fucking
Dave-
Larry with Shafi? Just talk
I'm
about
not.
fucking Riz Ahmed.
I thought Dave said I'm being both, as in he's being racist and not racist.
I do cross that bridge some days, but no, I'm just like, it
Quantum
just seems
entanglement.
weird. It's just everyone's going to be like, with all the viewers, they're going to be like, oh, well, obviously Shafi was the one that loved him the most, and I feel like I could do it if you give it a bit of time, and I can read his Wikipedia page quickly. It just seems
No, but I'll tell you. Let me just tell you. So I first years and years ago, I saw a film called Escape from Guantanamo. That's a film that's sort of like part documentary, part, as an actor sort of acting out what actually happened. But it was about some kids from the north that somehow ended up in Afghanistan, and they end up sort of being accused of terrorism, and they end up in Guantanamo Bay. It's not Harold and Kumar too, but it's a real. It happened in real life to these kids, and one of those people is actually played by Riz Ahmed. And the thing is that they're not sort of like huge roles, because there's lots of like talking heads, the actual real life people narrating exactly what actually happened. But there's one particular scene where a guard is sort of doing the patrol around Guantanamo Bay, and then he hears Riz Ahmed start rapping, and then the guard asks Riz Ahmed to do a rap, and then he starts like doing a rap and stuff. And then I was like, and somehow that I just remember that particular scene from that film. So then, like, what happened was that there's a film like a few years later called Shifty. Have you guys heard of that? It's basically like a small.
Only because you told me about it.
Yeah. Have you seen it yet? Or?
No, sorry, but you told me I must watch it. So sorry for not watching it.
Yeah. So he plays a drug dealer in that film in London, where his like friend from Manchester comes and visits him, and there's a scene where he's selling some drugs, and then the person that he's selling drugs to says that she gets kind of annoyed that there's someone next door that's like making lots of loud noise. So it's this sort of long sequence where he basically he puts his hoodie on, and then he sort of like slowly creeps to the apartment next door, and he sort of kind of like very calmly but threateningly tells like this person to turn the music down, and then he says, and also if you want any weed, come, give me a call. But I remember sort of watching that scene thinking, well, that guy's like a movie star. Like it's like one of those scenes where you kind of, it's like, Dave will know, it's like Dan Stevens in The Guest, where, like you watch that and go, well, that, that's like a movie star making.
Why is Dan Stevens not more famous, Shafi?
Yeah.
Can you explain this to me? I just don't get it. He is every quality of a movie star. He is so good. He can mate, the way he can just deliver a line, I'm a friend of the family, and it's just
that performance is spot on. But
oh my god, that's one of my top 5 man crushes.
He was great in that X-Men thing, which I forgot the name of. What was the X-Men thing he was in, Chef?
Oh, the Legion. Is it Legion?
Yeah, Legion. Yeah, he was great in that.
Yeah,
he is so good in everything. And honestly, viewers, if you haven't watched The Guest, just watch it. It's so good.
Brilliant. Yeah, he was in that. Apparently, he's really good in that Eurovision film as well.
Oh shit! Yeah, I watched that when it came out. Yeah,
I don't even know what
Apparently,
that
it's really good. I haven't seen it. It's a Will Ferrell.
Oh god,
Eurovision film. Yeah.
Is it shit? It's the film shit though, but he's just great in it.
I thought it was all right. It's one of those usual things where it's quite funny for then just tails off at the end.
Like the fight scene in the bar in The Guest is one of my favorite bar fights. It's so good.
Do I look like I want to buy them beers? So anyway, back to Riz Ahmed. Me and Dave watched a film called Nightcrawler, and then I was like, oh my god, that's like he's in American films now. I was like really like surprised. But then I guess that was after 4 Lions, isn't it?
That's been in my Netflix queue for years.
Mate,
I'll get around to it eventually. Yeah,
it's almost cliche to say how good Donnie Darko is in that. He is brilliant. I didn't appreciate how good that film was at first,
Yeah,
Shafi
same
did.
as yeah.
No,
Well,
you bigged it up more than I did. I think I'd been drinking quite heavily before at the cinema, but you nailed it. And I was a bit like, but mate, when you watch it back, just lines like, I don't think I've ever sworn in front of an employer before and stuff. He just delivers them so well. Oh, mate.
And then obviously
Kyle,
his
Blues Brothers firstly.
Yeah, and then Riz Ahmed's like breakout role was like The Night Of. I'm guessing. Mark, have you seen The Night Of?
I haven't. It's a TV series, right?
Yeah, so I thought you'd seen it. That's why I was asking you. But,
No, I think I had access to it, but I didn't watch it yet, actually.
Surely Rogue One was where he first came into like
mainstream. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
But,
I know you say that. I remember him Rogue One, yeah, but that's a small
Quite
part.
loves that film.
Quite a small role. That was great with blonde hair. I think blonde hair really suits him.
Shafi, fuck doing mindfulness for your New Year's resolution. Learn to play drums, get a hair transplant, and dye it blonde. Honestly, man, you look badass. You look badass.
I don't think I could get the six pack that he's got. He's got like he's like properly ripped in that film.
Get Mark to be your PT, man. Mark's ripped.
I was going to ask you, what did this film win an Academy Award for then?
Sound editing.
Okay.
Blimey.
So this was the first film that Laura's, well, she watched half of it and then fell asleep. But...
What did she think of it?
Yeah, she thought it was good, but you know when he goes deaf and there's the rumbling noises, and she didn't like it. She's like, "Oh, it's making me feel weird." It does, doesn't
really
it? It's very quite disconcerting.
You're really with them. You're like, oh god, this is so nuts. And you just think, fuck me, I just paid 40 grand for this. I'd be like,
no, I'm talking about before when he's just the low rumbling kind of sound.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, honestly,
yeah.
You really,
it's horrible.
You really feel like you're with him in that. It's like, oh fuck.
What's mad though is how quick it was. He just has it once and then it happens again, and then that's it. You can't hear. Whereas I thought it would have been more of a gradual decline.
I mean, possibly it was a gradual decline, but it's just that it'd be maybe that was edited down so that it's just to get to the crux of it.
I also didn't like how they didn't tell you what caused it.
Okay, cool. Anything else that anyone wants to say? Or
yes. So do you know a band called Alt J?
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm 38.
Yeah. So the drummer from Alt J has 20% hearing.
Wow.
Shafi, you're aware of Alt J, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I quite like them actually.
Are they a modern band?
No, like 10 years.
People.
Yeah. So he.
By the way, the idea of when Dave says a modern band, it's actually within 20 years. So
yeah,
and it consists of Brian Ferry.
Yeah, post Oasis. Basically.
I love all the new stuff. Pearl Jam, Nirvana. I'm into that shit. I love it. Can't get enough of that modern shit.
I think you know some of their songs, Dave, but you just don't realize you know them.
Anyway, so he is the drummer and like the main songwriter for the band, and he has a disease which means that his hearing is getting worse and worse and worse. Yeah, he still manages to be a drummer in the band. If you listen to the band though, his drums are very kind of high pitched hip hop kind of sound, and that's so they can cut through the music so we can hear them.
Right. So the co-writer Darius Marder's brother. Abraham Marder, I think he's still in a band, or he was in a metal band. And what happened is he got mugged and he got beaten up quite badly that he was just sort of physically fucked. And so the director actually said, well, why don't you co-write the script to me about this idea I've got? And it was sort of like a bit of catharsis for him to sort of get over this sort of trauma that he experienced. Anything else?
I could surprise Dave's not mentioned the dad yet.
Yeah.
Lou's dad.
Dominic Green from Quantum of Solace.
He's in a really good film called Diving Bell and the Butterfly. If anyone wants to watch that, I mean, everyone wants to check that out. That's a brilliant film. And that last sort of 20 minutes it's really heartbreaking, but it's
quite nice at the same time. It's weird, isn't it? I think it's quite nice.
Yeah, I like the fact that he like Riz. Ruben is the one that says, I'll be okay.
Yes.
Like he's the one that sort of he kind of acknowledges it, you know.
Yeah, man.
He knows.
Yeah. It's such a French house. They're all cooking when they arrive and stuff. I love that.
Do you think he went back afterwards then? He went back to the retreat, Joe?
Well, they wouldn't let him in, would they? Unless he kind of proper threw away those implants.
I think taking out of his implants is him saying, I've had enough of this.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he went back. That little teaching job. That was good.
And they offered him. Yeah, Joe offers him a job, doesn't he? He
was really happy there. He was, as I say, it was the only time you saw him light up during the whole film.
That teacher was in the Eternals film.
Yeah. She's definitely real life. Yeah.
See that for me, that scene where they're talking just together, like we were talking about it earlier, I thought that really made the film for me. Certain scenes in films like that where it's just two people talking back and forth like that, and it really is incredible. You really feel like how do you write this stuff? It's kind of like,
sorry, which scene between who?
When he's like, you have to leave now, and we don't see this as
well, it's
that's incredible.
It's the centerpiece of the film, isn't it?
Yeah,
he chooses up, isn't he, when he's saying it?
Without that scene, I think this film is a sort of 7.5 out of 10. But with that scene, it's a kind of 9.5 out of 10. There's something about it, and it's quite. Even though it's completely different, it reminded me a bit of Hunger, where Liam Cunningham and Michael Fassbender are talking. And it's just these sort of scenes just blow me away. I can't deal with it, how real it is when you just sort of watch them back and forth. And it's just like, fucking hell, how do you write that stuff? How do you write two people having such a serious conversation? Like, how do you write that where it's to me, it's the most impressive type of writing. I adore it.
Well, it's funny you bring up Hunger because it does kind of make an interesting double bill with this film, because like as you said, a lot of Hunger takes place without dialogue, which is similar to this film, and then it's only basically, and then when it gets to that point in Hunger, that's like a 20-minute dialogue scene, so it basically makes up for the lack of dialogue at the beginning of the film. And like with this film, that a lot of this film doesn't have any dialogue.
That's really honestly, that's a really good point. I had no idea why my mind went that way, and it might. Yeah, it just reminded me of when you have just a scene with two people, and it feels like somehow you're just sitting there. It's almost like, it sounds really pretentious, but it's almost like not watching a film. It feels like you're just sitting there.
You're an inquiring eye.
On the wall. You're the only other person watching it. And it's just, fuck me, man. Viewers, if any of you will ever get the chance, probably not, to see the episode of Cracker with
the Coltrane.
Yeah, well,
that's a great show.
With Liam Cunningham, if you can ever watch the show, the version of Cracker with Liam Cunningham, that is some of the best. I want to meet him. I want to meet him and say that's one of the best acting performances I've ever seen.
That's Game of Thrones, Liam Cunningham, yeah?
Yeah, Liam Cunningham. This episode of Cracker is unbelievable. It is fucking... Oh, it's just too good for words. His acting is off the chain. Yeah. Mate, yeah. And actually, just...
Not enough people talk about Cracker.
It's because I think this is an ITV. It's the only decent show to ever have been on ITV, except Harry Hill's TV Burp. It is fucking
Gladiators, mate. Gladiators.
Oh, sorry, shit.
Mate, what about every Michael Barrymore? Fucking
here we go.
Striker Lucky, my kind of people. Attila Black, Blind
here we go.
Generation Game. Are you off your nut? The only fucking...
The dumbass has woken up. There he is. Gladiators, Baywatch, Striker Lucky, Striker
Great
Rich.
shows. Great shows.
The guy in his swimming pool didn't strike it lucky, did he, when he drowned?
Wasn't him, mate. Wasn't him. He didn't do anything.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
You're the dickhead talking about shoving cotton buds up your ass. Fucking.
So just for the viewers, so that you guys can see that that Andy changed his background to the actual bus.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the
RV.
Oh, yeah.
Need to get one of these motorhomes and do a tour of the US when we're famous from this pod.
Go on, Andy, do your car bit then, so the men and women can listen to you talk about cars.
So they got a recording studio in an Airstream 345 motorhome. So look this thing up, because if you want to travel across the States, this is the vehicle to do it in. That's all I'll say.
Legend.
It's fucking quality, this thing.
It is an absolute thing of beauty, isn't it? It is just so... What?
How do you know?
Because it was in the film.
Well, this podcast, Shafi, we have to watch the film, yeah?
Yeah, man, I kind of noticed.
I mean, I'm just quite surprised. You sound like you actually lived in the thing, the fact the way you're talking about it.
They knows about his Airstreams.
Yeah. it kind of looks futuristic and old-fashioned at the same time. I was blown away. And I always think about that. If I won the lottery, I might just disappear and just drive around America. And
Dave, you have to get a license.
You have to learn to drive first, mate.
Yeah, whatever. So I think I could get a fake one if I'm a millionaire, so don't worry about it. Or I'll just hire someone to...
What was that fake license you had at uni, Fev? What was your name?
McLovin. Dave McLovin. Or I could just hire someone to drive it whilst I get shit-faced on Jack Daniels and drive around America.
That sounds like the shittest Driving Miss Daisy film ever. Right? Driving Dave McHugh. Just drunk at the back of an RV while Morgan Freeman drives him around.
Just didn't see any of America for 10 months.
It was at this time when Dave McHugh threw up on himself, and I decided to quit. Oh.
And he woke up in a pile of his own piss.
But yeah,
let's contact Morgan Freeman and see if he'll sign up as well.
Yeah, it was a kind of, just a nice fantasy project like Willy's Wonderland. He won't want a big paycheck just to work with me. Yeah, I think that's a fucking really nice looking motorhome. Beats the Breaking Bad one.
Absolutely right.
For famous motorhomes in film or TV.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It is beautiful.
Mark, is there anything else you want to say about this film? It's your choice.
I think you just alluded to it. Have I ruined the golden word there? So I've done a word that shouldn't come out. You alluded to it earlier, I think, Shafi, that there isn't a whole lot of dialogue in this film. There isn't much of unless I'm wrong, there isn't much of a score.
It's more of a noise, isn't it? Like the hums and stuff, yeah.
I thought it was really slow paced. And yeah, I guess just surprised that there wasn't that much dialogue.
Did you like it, Mark?
But for me, I mean, I loved some of the scenes that were shot. I think were done really nicely. There's some great close-ups and some great wide views. But I think for me, I was always glad the ending. I thought the ending was very good. I appreciate the ending. I thought that was a good way to end the film. But I think ultimately, it didn't really grab my attention. It didn't really do it for me. This film. I think I would give it. Can we do scores now or
no? We're not doing scores.
Sheffield fucking kill you, mate. If you
don't do scores, mate.
Sheffield, come round your house and beat the shit out of you.
Mark? Why are you trying to change the format of the show?
Oh, you're such a fucking dick, Mark.
I thought you did
dickhead, Mark.
Fucking hell.
You did scores before in this first one, didn't you?
Yeah, we haven't since, mate. Yeah,
we haven't since, mate.
Get with the program. Jesus,
you're such a dick, Mark.
Yeah,
we've now learned that Mark never listens to our podcast.
I did the first one.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't want to end it on Mark's really negative comment. Andy, any comments final comments you want to say about this film? Be positive.
I think if you haven't seen this film, you need to watch it. It's very different. It's not a big blockbuster. It's you can take anything from this. Just listen. Fucking hell, 5 geezers have just given you 5 different views on what this film's all about. So yes, get yourself a drink, get yourself some popcorn, turn the lights off, tell your kids to fuck off, and put this on.
Nice. All right. Cool. All right. So
it's the one word review. The one word review. The one word review from us to you.
Except for Dave, who says, "Oh, so beautiful." It's just beautiful.
Andy, what is your one word review?
Lazarus.
Nice. What, Dave? What's your one word review?
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Cotton bud.
Yeah, cotton bud.
What? Why have you said Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? I don't
know because I can't. All right. This is really, really difficult to one word review for this film. I'm going to say emotional.
Nice. Okay. All right. So, Kyle, what's your one word review?
Sound.
Oh, God. And
what the fuck is that?
No, it's like you're not bothered at all, are you? And what about you, Mark? What is your one word review?
Anxiety.
My one word review is vulnerable.
Oh, such a sweetie.
Okay.
So, Shafi, following up from The Wailing, Jalakatu, and all the other crazy shit you've made me watch that I've enjoyed, what is your choice for the next podcast, please?
So Andy, you might not be happy with our choice because it's not going to be as mad as the previous films. I thought because Mark picked quite an emotional film, quite a deep, heavy film. I thought I'd switch it up a bit, and instead I'm going to pick one of my favorite action films of all time. So
holy shit!
Oh yes, yes.
Dave's going to fucking Kareem his pants here.
Is it Streets of Fire?
Is it Enemy of the State?
No.
That's fucking amazing, man.
Is it Miami Connection?
No. Okay, so is this film? So it's a film called
True Lies.
that was
90s, right? That was 90s.
I don't fucking know. I don't know anything about film.
94, bro.
So it's a film called Eastern Condors.
Yeah.
Condors.
Right, now the thing is, I've been talking to Carl about this, that you're not, I don't think you can find this on a streaming platform, but I've got it on Blu-ray. So
I think me and Kyle are in the poster.
Kyle definitely is.
Guy with curtains, and Carlos is the guy with the red fucking headband. Can we watch this at someone's house in Jersey together?
Yeah, so that's my choice, Eastern Condors. Hope you guys enjoy it. Mark, have you enjoyed your time here?
Yeah, really enjoyable. It's nice to see everyone's faces again.
Thanks a lot, Mark, for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed, even though you didn't enjoy the film, but I really enjoyed the film. So yes, thanks for coming along, Mark. Would you care to tell the viewers how to get in touch with us, please?
Sure. Please send any questions, comments, praise, hate mail, or one-word reviews to the popcorn postbag at whodroppedthepopcorn@gmail.com, or like, follow, harass us on Twitter at whopopcorn, or on Instagram at whodroppedthepopcorn. You can also leave a review on your podcast app, and please remember to like and subscribe. You've been listening to Who Dropped the Popcorn. We really appreciate it. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye-bye.